Hi everyone, my name is Alia. I'm Ironhack's GM and I decided to take the class with all of our students. A fun fact about me, when I was 16, I started a summer camp out of my parents' house and they had no idea, so a bunch of kids showed up to our front door and they weren't too happy about that. But it went really, really well. And so having worked here for a really long time, I truly believe that knowing how to code or design is a superpower. And having met and seen the hundreds of students that we've had at Ironhack Miami, what I've noticed is the thing that really unites them all is that they really want to make an impact. Every single one of you wants to do something with these skills. So my big question was how do I help them make an impact? And the research backs it up. 68% of millennials say that they want to create change in the world and that they're actually actively pursuing it. So my question was, how do I help millennials to make real impact? And that's when I discovered something called effective altruism, which is a social movement that is founded on giving effectively. So it's using data to figure out how you can give your money in the best way. Most of us think that in order to be like a superhero or to save a life, we need to be someone like this. We need to be a doctor, or we need to be a firefighter, and we need to go save lives. But actually, you would be surprised to know that if you earn the average income in the US and you donate 10% of your income to the right charities, you could save dozens of lives over the course of a couple of years. So my goals really were to build a way for millennials to have an impact without having to move across the world and start volunteering or quit their jobs and join a nonprofit, to make effective donations, to simplify the process, and to make effective altruism more user-friendly, because a lot of apps out there are very, very dense and have a lot of research, so they're not really accessible to the common user. So as a good UX UI designer, we always start with the research, right? So I had 103 surveys go out, and these are some of the things that I found out. Most of my network is very giving. 75% donated to a charity in the last year. But overall, from the majority of the feedback, the most important thing I found was almost 100% of them said that it's really important for them that their money is used effectively. So millennials want a tangible impact, and I'm sure you all can identify with that. So I took all this data, I put it all in one place, and I found a bunch of themes. The first theme that was the most important is that giving is sparked by social pressure. So typically people will make a donation if a friend asks them to, or if they see something that tugs at their heartstrings. There's also a lot of skepticism among millennials for charities. We're a little bit jaded about how our money is being used and if it's actually being used effectively, and they want lots of transparency. So using that, I came up with what were the most important features, what were the should-have features, and my first low-fidelity prototype, doesn't look so hot, but that's how we start as designers. We start out with pen and paper, and the data that I got was that the CTAs were unclear. CTAs are the buttons on the bottom. Data sets were redundant. There was a lot of confusion, and people didn't think they would download an app. So I actually turned it into a website so that it would be a mobile site rather than creating another entry to barrier of having a barrier to entry to have to download an app. So this was the mid-fidelity prototype. And the data I got back was, well, we need more information. It's super impersonal. I don't feel like giving a donation because it's not tugging at my heartstrings. There's not social proof, but people really love the metrics and the graphs, and they really like the selection process. So I turned it into this and then finalized it into this. So the first thing you do as a UX designer is you finalize the flow, and then you think about how it looks. So this was my mood board after figuring out how the flow was gonna look. These were the color themes, and the vibes that we were going for were adventurous, global, trustworthy, and smart. And so now I'm gonna show you a little video of the prototype. So here, is it playing? Okay, so here's the landing page, and a user comes here, and this whole page is really supposed to sell the user on the idea of why effective altruism is something that you should think about, how it works, what are the processes in which effective altruism organizations are judged, so how does it help you make an impact? A lot of people wanted tons of data as to why they should donate through this website. And so there's some social proof from smart names like the Boston Globe, and what are the criteria to be an organization on this app. And so I'm gonna go ahead and say, okay, I'm sold, I'm gonna get matched. So as a user, I'm gonna pick on topics that I care about. So I'm looking through and I decide that I care about global health and global development. And then I go ahead and click on make a change. And I get my recommendations of the organizations that I can donate to. I'm gonna look at the next one. Okay, Against the Malaria Foundation, cool, what do they do? Okay, they protect people from malaria by funding nets. It's the most effective means of preventing malaria. Cool. Okay, so they use 100% of public donations, and for every 1,000 nets, one child doesn't die. That's pretty tangible. Okay, and they look like they're doing stuff because they have live updates. I'm gonna make a donation. So here I decide that I'm gonna donate. I'll donate, let's say, $35. Okay, that's gonna contribute 17 nets. Okay, and now I'm gonna go ahead and make my payment. And it's gonna automatically do it monthly unless I uncheck. I'm not gonna do it monthly right now. And my payment's been received and I'll get a tax receipt. Cool. And then I can find and follow updates from the organization. Let me get rid of, don't wanna. Okay. So what were my learnings? Well, regarding next steps, I found that people, even though they all want information, they don't like to read. So I really want to find ways to make the app more digestible and find ways to help people interact with the app without having to read a lot of text. And unfortunately, the challenge of this industry is that there's so much data to go through. And then I want to add additional features. Some of the users that I tested wanted a more accurate way to kind of track so they could have a profile or a dashboard of like who they've helped and how many people they've helped over time, and a way to track impact. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me, and thank you for everyone.